Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 4 of the 25 Tour de France, brought to you by Baker Tilly. Special shout out to Baker Tilly for sponsoring every episode of the Butterfly Effect for the 25 Tour de France. Now let's get into today's stage, because at just about 175 kilometers, I'll call it 110 miles in length, with 5 categorized climbs, all coming under the last 50 kilometers of today's stage 4 of the Tour de France. This stage, you know, is for sure one of the classic style stages. All you have to do is look at the last 30 kilometers and know the last 4 climbs fit in that 30 kilometers. And then the last 900 meters, 1K of the finish of today's stage is uphill to summit the finish of stage 4 of the Tour de France. So you know it's a classic style stage. If you went to bed last night and you're the director sportif, you must have some kind of clue of what's going to happen on today's stage. And I told you guys a week ago during the Beyond the coverage that this is a stage for Mathieu van der Poel. Could have been a stage for Wout van Aert, because at that point in time I did not know his form 1 week before the Tour de France. But now we know Wout van Aert's form is not so special this early into the Tour de France. Might get better, but we're going to have to wait and see. But you certainly knew Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar, and Jonas Vingegaard, that was lighting the race up on stage 1 of the 25 Tour de France, and battling with those 2 guys on stage 2 that Mathieu van der Poel won. That's why he's wearing the race leader's yellow jersey, and why Tadej Pogačar sitting second on the general classification, 4 seconds back, and why Jonas Vingegaard sitting third on the classification, 6 seconds back. So with Mathieu van der Poel in yellow, Tadej Pogačar second, Jonas Vingegaard third, all wrapped up with 6 seconds between them on a classic style stage at the Tour de France, you know it's going to be a battle of the GC favorites on today's stage 4. So when you're sending guys up the road, you got to understand that the break is going to get caught. So when the cameras come on and we're at kilometer 0 and we see the first tack from Lenny Martinez, well, that's the first knucklehead right there, Bahrain victorious Lenny Martinez. He's going up the road and he's got 3 riders for company. We'll see Casper Asgreen's up there, Thomas Gassignard up there from Total Energy, and when you see the last rider, you know, X up there, you got to believe that Jonas Abrahamsen up there with 4 riders in there. There's no chance these guys are going to make it. So why do you have Lenny Martinez up there? He's a knucklehead. I'll say it a couple times before the end of today's Butterfly Effect, because if you're Bahrain victorious and you're paying this kid $2 million, that's what the commentators are telling us on stages before. And if I take you back into stage 1, Lenny Martinez was falling off the back of the Peloton. This is not a stage to spend $2 million rider Lenny Martinez in the front group. But he's not listening to me, so these 4 riders are going up the road. They're going to get up to about a 2.5 minute gap maximum time, but it's held more or less at about 2 minutes, because Sylvain Dillier back there from Alpecin de Koenig's riding the front. So when they're riding the front and you can't figure out the MO 2 weeks before the stage of the Tour de France, or 1 year ago, I could have told you what would have happened, but still Bahrain victorious, so keeping Lenny Martinez in this front group. Sylvain Dillier is doing a great job, and we're coming into about 95 kilometers to go. And it's to finally starts getting a little nervous in the Peloton as we see EF Education riding the right side of the field here on the road, and it's going a little bit curb to curb. That means the pace is always going to get a little bit faster and faster. We're going about 65 kilometers to go when the cars from the Breakaway specialist up front there, of Lenny Martinez, Breakaway specialist. The guy's a $1.15. He's a Breakaway specialist in the mountains, not on stage like today. So you see the cars come up there, hand Lenny Martinez's bottle, and the other riders up there get bottles, and then the cars get pulled out of the way. Does Bahrain victorious pull Lenny Martinez out of the group? No, they don't pull him out, because they think they want to get him some KOM points. Because out of the 5 category climbs, they're 4s and 3 category climbs, so you could get 1 point for category 4 climbs. So Lenny Martinez is staying up here. Now, we come in about 55 kilometers ago. We see the 4 Breakaway riders come by the right side of the road there, and you see the island. It's a low island, super low, with cracks in the middle. Now, the Peloton's hot on their heels right there, about 1.5 minutes behind. And as the Peloton comes through here, it starts splitting to avoid this low island. You could go straight over, but you do not want to get caught in the cracks on the right side or the left side, because that's a dangerous place to be. So the Peloton's getting nervous, spreading, and they're going to start slowing. And either it's the slowing or the rider gets stuck in the crack, and we see Fedorov going down, the Astana rider. As he's going down, there's going to be a ricochet. Riders are going to start crashing, and Sepp Kuss, the American rider from Visma Lease Bikes, going to get pulled down with Verscher there from Total Energy. All 3 riders will get up and get back into the group, and then they'll start chasing. As they're chasing up front, they'll wrap back up to the back of the Peloton. The 4 Breakaway riders now are coming up to the first of the climbs with 50 kilometers to go. As they're coming into the climb, we see Lenny Martinez go back to the car and get a bottle. Doesn't have any bottles on his bike, so it's a good idea to start the first climb here of stage 4 with a bottle on your bike. Lenny Martinez gets the bottle, gets a sticky bottle, slides his way back up to the 3 breakaway companions. Then he starts spraying out some of his water bottle right here so it could be a little bit lighter on this first climb. Okay, whatever you want to do. Then Lenny Martinez throws in an attack and everyone starts dropping off, but we see Jonas Abrahamsen, the Uno X rider, suffering to close the gap back up to Lenny Martinez. They'll start playing a little bit of games. As they're playing a little bit of games, the Peloton's coming into the start of this climb, and then there's a crash at the back of the Peloton too. We'll see it's Ilan Van Wilder. It's going off in the bushes. That's Pseudo Quickstep. Looks like he's going to be okay, but it's costing some more energy here for teammates there. Remco Evenepoel, the Belgian kid that wants to wear the race leader's yellow jersey after tomorrow's individual time trial, but he's down on time, guys. He's got to make up a lot of time. How good of a day can he have here on stage 4? Well, let's see. As the Peloton gets in the climb, Alpecin Deceuninck's still riding the front. We go back up to the breakaway guys, and they're all coming back together because Lenny Martinez slowed the pace down, and now Casper Asgreen, EF Education's throwing in attack. He throws in attack right at the summit there, and we see Lenny Martinez throwing a huge acceleration to try to pass Casper Asgreen, who grabs maximum KOM points here. There was only one available. So Casper Asgreen gets it, and Lenny Martinez wastes his legs up here with a bike throw at the top of the KOM. Behind them, the Peloton's coming up and over the climb, and they'll drop down the backside. Now we're coming into about 33 kilometers to go when we see Julian Alaphilippe at the back of the Peloton. He's got his arms up, pulls over to the right side, and he sees his mechanic as the car pulls over, and his mechanic jumps out. Julian Alaphilippe's holding up the back seat there of his bike. His mechanic's changing the wheel. You look at the spare wheel, it's set over there on the left side of the mechanic, leaning against his leg. And as the mechanic's working on getting the rear wheel off of Julian Alaphilippe's bike, remember, Peloton's going fast because we have a sprint point competition coming up. So Julian Alaphilippe's calm like a bomb still, but the mechanic's spare wheel there tips over a little bit and the cassette falls off the wheel. The mechanic doesn't see it. He still works on pulling off the back wheel there of Julian Alaphilippe's. He does the back wheel pretty fast, but then he grabs the spare wheel, realizes there's no cassette on it. Once you have no cassette on there, guys, you got to go for a spare bike right away. And the mechanic was actually fast enough to realize after a little bit of try with the cassette that he better grab the spare bike. They pull the spare bike off, hand it to Julian Alaphilippe, and the Frenchman's off and running now. Now, he's going to have to do some chasing back there, and he's got some teammates. We go back up front. We see that Lenny Martinez is coming up to the sprint line point competition, but he's not going to win this because it's going to be Jonas Abrahamsen up there from Uno X that grabs maximum points. Back in 5th place, going to be Johnny Milan grabbing some points here for the green jersey. And I'll just point one thing out. Brian Coquard's not doing the sprint line point competition right here. Now, if you guys were blaming Brian Coquard, you're in the wrong. Bike racing is all that we saw yesterday when Brian Coquard accidentally crashed Jasper Philipsen in the green jersey, stage winner here of stage 1 of the Tour de France. That was an accident. It's called bike racing. If I was Brian Coquard, I would not have even apologized. I know that's the way I see it. I wouldn't have apologized. It's bike racing. Brian Coquard's more of a gentleman than I am, and he verbally apologized directly after the race for crashing Jasper Philipsen. I'd have said, what do you want me to do? I moved over right. I got hit by the Intermarché rider, and of course, once I come off the pedals, I'm just trying to hold the bike upright. I went into Jasper Philipsen. There's no reason for me to apologize. It's bike racing. Jasper Disaster has done much more harm in his racing career, and I'm sure he's happy to leave the Tour de France at least with a stage win and race leader's jersey and the green jersey, and his teammate with Mathieu van der Poel wearing the race leader's jersey here in today's stage 4. Happy? I don't know about, but satisfied. You can believe that's a whole lot better than most guys will leave the Tour de France with. So right now, Brian Coquard has nothing to excuse himself for up here on the butterfly effect. We go back in the racing. We got 30 kilometers to go. We're hitting the second climb here. As they come into that, the brake blows up. Lenny Martinez is going solo. The Peloton is going to wrap up all the riders in the back. Lenny Martinez is going to go over and finally grab himself some maximum KOM points, but Tim Wellens from UAE team members is going over in second, so he's getting him some points too. So Lenny Martinez is wasting his time. He's still up there riding solo, and the Peloton behind's getting interested. Now as we come down the descent, we got another crash to dissect here. As the Peloton was coming in the right turn, it started to narrow up, and we see behind there's a big blockade of the Peloton. What happened here? It looks like there was a shuffling from the front there in the middle of the Peloton. It shuffled over to the left. Bora Hansgrohe rider went down first. We see the riders going into the barricade, and then as the peloton blocks up the whole road, I see at least 4 or 5 Bora-Hansgrohe rider, and I believe Primoz Roglic is one of them. Now, what's this mean for Julian Alaphilippe that's been chasing back there like crazy? Well, as we see the mechanic out there from Shimano running around this crash scene left and right, Julian Alaphilippe comes blazing past the mechanic here and just barely misses him as the mechanic's pulling his back leg there out of the way, and the Frenchman passes by through the peloton there. On the right side, I'll call it Marco Haller there, that's jumping up on the right side, that rides for Two Door Cycling, that was helping Julian Alaphilippe. He came in hot too. He had to jump up on the right side and just missed the Astana rider there, Tejada, and they'll come out and they're going to be chasing. Where they're at now, I don't exactly know, because when the camera comes up front, we see there's about 60 riders in this front group. All of the favorites, minus Primoz Roglic, I cannot find in this group. UAE team members, Tadej Pogacar's in there. Remco's in this front group. The yellow splendid jersey there, Mathieu van der Poel's in the front group. And Jonas Vingegaard is up there with Visma Lease bike riders, and we'll call it about 60 guys. As they're drilling it up at the front, we see the second group starting to come back to the first group, and we'll go into about 20 kilometers to go. As Lenny Martinez is coming down this descent, the peloton's wrapping Lenny Martinez up. As they're wrapping them up, they come out of this right bend, and then you see who I believe to be Primoz Roglic with about 20-point-something kilometers to go. Primoz Roglic is back at the front of the group here, sprinting up the right side of the peloton. As we're coming into the next climb with 20.4 kilometers to go, that means Primoz Roglic did not have much time to rest back there, and UAE team members on the front with Tim Wellens. Wellens is doing a fabulous job of setting some tempo, and you know with 20 kilometers to go, they will want to start making it hard now for Tadej Pogacar to have a shot here at winning stage 4. As UAE team members are drilling on the front, they'll go over the top of the KOM, Tim Wellens grabbing maximum points, and the peloton's starting to suffer back there. We go after that KOM, and it's time for the Solarism to get on the front with just about 19.5 kilometers to go. With Marc Soler on the front, he's drilling it like crazy. The final 20 kilometers of today's stage is twisty, narrow, technical, bumpy, lumpy, and they still got a couple more climbs to do, but Soler's driving it on the front. Look at the back of the group there as it's all strung out. You see that the island's in the middle, the road's super narrow, and you see Tom Squins from Lidl Trek back there in last place, and you gotta believe no one's gonna survive back there, especially with what's coming up in front, and UAE team members driving it. Albacine de Koenig's been in a good spot. Visma Lease bike's always been at the front, and I told you guys Primoz Roglic got on with about 20 kilometers to go right before this climb started. Well, now we're coming into 15, and you see Primoz Roglic moving up to the front of the group. With that move there from Bora-Hansgrohe, we got all the favorites up here. Jonas, Remco, Mathieu van der Poel is up there, Tadej Pogacar, and Primoz Roglic, all first-page riders, and I'll throw in Wout van Aert because the big guy's still in the picture. As we're coming into 15 kilometers to go, it's the next climb with 13K to go. Now, with this climb coming, now it's going to be an explosive battle as we see FDJ starting to drive on the right side, but UAE team members have different plans on the left. As we see right there, it's time for Sivakov to go to work. Sivakov starts pulling. He'll pull a few hundred meters. Then it's time for Tim Wellens to go to work at 900 meters to go. With Tim Wellens driving on the front, Tadej Pogacar is there. Jonathan Narvaez is there. Jonas is there. Then we start looking at some individual pictures of Tadej Pogacar checking out his computer as his teammates drilling it on the front. You know this kid's looking good if he's got time to be looking down on his computer. The cameras go back. They find Jonas Vingegaard. He looks focused. Doesn't look like he's suffering, but he looks focused right now. Certainly not messing around with his computer, and all the favorites are still in the front group. We go further at the back of the peloton. It's Ben O'Connor right now. He's getting dropped. Jaco Alula rider's getting dropped with Eddie Dunbar, his teammate, just in front of him. The group's still about 50, 60 riders up there, but they're going blazing fast as Ben O'Connor's having a rough time. Once he's coming off the back, with cameras come back up to the front of the peloton, and we see Tim Wellens go over the top of the KOM here in first position. He's wearing the KOM jersey, and he's grabbing maximum points, but Tadej Pogacar's in and around the picture too. So let's see what happens at the end of today's race. We go into 11 kilometers to go. My man, Victor Campenaerts is getting on the front for Visma Lease bike. With Vic on the front, he's got some teammates. Jonas Vingegaard sitting right on his leg, right behind on his wheel. And then we see Jorgensen's there. Wout van Aert's there. Tiesj Benoot's going to come in the picture with Visma Lease bike going full gas. My man Camp is throwing everything into it. Guys, this is a crazy, technical, dangerous descent, and Camp's got it strung out single file through all of the lefts, right, twisty turns down the descent. Then he's coming out of the right turns. He's punching it left, right, and center. This is a hard time to be at the back of the peloton when it's single file out, and you got Victor Campenaerts, my man, on the front driving it. As he's driving it full gas, he's coming into about 7 kilometers to go, still drilling it, and the peloton blows up back there. We see a huge explosion. We got about 30 guys left in the front, but at the back, it's Felix Gall back there. AG2R is having a rough time. He's gone high on the general classification in years past, but this is not going to be his great stage 4 here as he's coming out the back with 30 guys in the front. My man Victor Campenaerts throwing down for the last big effort with about 6 kilometers to go. As he comes out of the last turn to start the climb here, he starts drilling it and then blows. It's Thies Benoot's time to get on the front. Thies Benoot starts drilling it, and then all of a sudden Thies Benoot's not going to be on the front for very long because it's time for Jonathan Narvaez to come to the front with about 6 kilometers to go. It's the last and final climb starting here proper. Category climb. The field still finishes at the top. But with Jonathan Narvaez taking over for Thies Benoot, didn't have to pull long. Playtime's over here on stage 4 of the Tour de France as Jonathan Narvaez is starting to drill it. Or is it? Is it playtime there for Jonathan Narvaez? Look over to the left side. That's Almeida. Where did he come from? The Portuguese rider for UAE team members coming up the left side just moments after Narvaez touched the front of the peloton. Almeida comes up to the front. Tadej Pogačar switches over from his teammate Jonathan Narvaez onto Almeida's wheel, and Almeida starts blowing stuff up with the pace there of Almeida, single file, throwing down here. He's drilling as he comes into the left turn. It's a stair-step climb that's going to come into a 15% section after making the left and going into the right. When he comes out of the right, you look at the back there. Oh, Primož Roglič is opening up the gap. He's blowing the efforts from 25 kilometers, getting caught behind the crash, not catching on to the front up till 15 kilometers to go. That's 10K of trying to fight to get to the front. As Almeida's throwing the last bit of effort into the pedals, all of a sudden, Tadej Pogačar does an explosion on the pedals, but he's going upwards, not backwards, with the big turbo boost there from Tadej Pogačar. He's throwing in an acceleration. Jonas Vingegaard has to pass the back wheel there of Mathieu van der Poel in the race leader's yellow jersey. He doesn't have the legs. He's blowing. Tadej Pogačar is out of the saddle. Guys, it's the first time I've seen this kid out of the saddle in the 25 season. He's throwing everything into it. As Tadej Pogačar is thrown down, Jonas Vingegaard closes up to the back wheel. Tadej Pogačar with the accelerations blowing everyone off the wheel, and Remco Evenepoel back there has to get on the front and start chasing for Mathieu van der Poel. As we go back up front, Tadej Pogačar still accelerating. Jonas Vingegaard sits down, looks back over his shoulder and blows. Once he blows, Tadej Pogačar is still standing. He opens up the gap there on Jonas Vingegaard, but he's still got about 100 meters to go. As he gets near the top of the KOM, Tadej Pogačar blows too. He has to sit down. Finally, Jonas Vingegaard sees it immediately, gets back out of the saddle and closes back up right at the top of the KOM where Tadej Pogačar grabs maximum points. Jonas Vingegaard goes over second, and about 11 seconds behind, Remco Evenepoel is driving it back there with Mathieu van der Poel on his wheel. The problem is he's got some people sitting on the taxi ride there from Remco Evenepoel as Almeida's sitting on with his teammate up the road, Tadej Pogačar for UAE team members. And the American rider Jorgensen, Visma bike, he's sitting on too. So Remco Evenepoel has to do everything because Mathieu van der Poel doesn't have the legs. As we look up front, Tadej Pogačar starting to work on the front, but he knows Jonas Vingegaard won't come through and take a pull. Or will he? Well, we see the Visma bike rider decides to take a pull. I'm sitting on the Chesterfield. Don't take a pull. Nobody should be pulling with Tadej Pogačar, certainly not one-on-one. So Jonas Vingegaard pulls for about 150 meters, then Tadej Pogačar comes back through. Wisely so for Jonas Vingegaard to back up the throttle because Jorgensen's sitting on the back group right there, so you can start playing a tactical game. If Jorgensen can get back up here after the free ride that Remco Evenepoel's doing. Well, Remco Evenepoel does close up with about 3 kilometers to go, and then Jorgensen throws in an attack. With the attack of Jorgensen, Tadej Pogačar closes it right away, and then Almeida gets on the front for Tadej Pogačar and starts setting some tempo. We look at the chasers back there. We see it's 3 riders. Skilmos, Kevin Vauquelin's back there, but Romain Gregor is doing an amazing job to try to close the gap up here, and we see Skilmos and Kevin Vauquelin's can't quite stay on the wheel there of Romain Gregor. As we look up front, Remco Evenepoel's throwing in attack. With the attack of Remco Evenepoel while Almeida's on the front, Romain Gregor is going to close up on the back to put 7 guys in the front group here. As he's closing up, though, Almeida's closing up to Remco Evenepoel. Wise tactic right here from Remco Evenepoel. If you don't get immediate gap, you got to shut it down. You're getting too close to the finish. As Remco Evenepoel shut it down just under 2 kilometers with Almeida setting the pace back there to bring him back, we see the next attack from the American Jorgensen. Jorgensen throws in an attack. Almeida's right in the front. Jorgensen's throwing everything into it with the Portuguese riders chasing him. As they come into the last bend here, as the climb starts proper with about 950 meters to go, they go through the left, then Jorgensen's still up the road. Almeida's still drilling it back there for Tadej Pogačar, and then Almeida's looking back over his shoulder. He's going to close up to the back wheel at 550 meters to go of the American rider, and then he just keeps going on the front. He's looking over his shoulder. This is the perfect way you want to do it. If you have the best climber in the world, and his name's Tadej Pogačar, you cannot afford to back off the throttle on the final 600 meters of today's stage. You got to keep it going full gas, because at 200 meters to go, there's a right turn that'll slightly flatten out to the finish of today's stage. So Almeida knows he's got to drive it 100% to start putting some nails into the legs there of Mathieu van der Poel. Well, as he's driving it, Mathieu van der Poel, you know, is on the limit, because he's already had problems trying to stay with Tadej Pogačar, and it was Remco Evenepoel that brought him back. So Almeida's throwing everything into it. He rounds the bend at 200 meters to go. I'm sitting on the Chesterfield at this moment. You got to pull off the front right now. You got to pull off the front and make Mathieu van der Poel do the lead out from as far as you possibly can. But 200 meters sounds about perfect to me as Almeida comes through the right turn. Instead, Almeida stays on the front. He's been perfect throughout today's stage, but he stays on the front. If I'm being picky, and I always like to be picky on the butterfly effect, he's staying on about 25 meters too long, because at 150 meters to go, Mathieu van der Poel throws in an acceleration. But at 125, 100 meters to go, Tadej Pogačar throws in his own acceleration. He's coming up the left side immediately on Mathieu van der Poel. He's getting side by side with Mathieu van der Poel as Mathieu van der Poel sits down, looks back, and realizes he's going to lose today's stage 4 of the Tour de France. Tadej Pogačar's throwing in a huge acceleration to the line. Mathieu van der Poel's looked over his shoulder. He knows he has to get second if he wants to keep the race leader's yellow jersey. Tadej Pogačar knows he can take the race leader's yellow jersey, but he needs some help back there. As Tadej Pogačar's accelerating all the way to the line, he's going to cross the line and win today's stage 4 for his first victory and his 100th victory while he's wearing the rainbow band jersey of the road world champion here at the Tour de France. He crosses the line, takes the jersey, but will not take the race leader's yellow jersey. He'll tie on time, because Mathieu van der Poel will throw his bike at the back to beat Jonas Vingegaard for second place. That'll give him tied on time, 0 time. So it's going to go to placing. So Mathieu van der Poel will keep the race leader's yellow jersey. Jonas Vingegaard will finish 3rd on today's stage. When we start looking further back, Remco Evenepoel came off the group back there with about 350 meters to go. He came off the group, so he loses a few seconds on today's stage 4. Primož Roglič, though, loses a ton of time back there, talking about 30 seconds at least, as he came through the group with Wout van Aert on the front of it. But when we look at tomorrow's individual time trial stage, well, Tadej Pogačar's tied on time, so he could be wearing the race leader's yellow jersey after tomorrow's 33-kilometer time trial stage. Could be Mathieu van der Poel, of course, and it could also be Jonas Vingegaard if he can pull out a magical time trial like we saw back in the 23 Tour de France, stage 16. The most brilliant time trial I think I've ever witnessed. There was Jonas Vingegaard destroying the whole peloton at the Tour de France. Can Jonas Vingegaard bring that individual time trial form? Well, he only has to make up less than 10 seconds to put himself in the race leader's yellow jersey here. So if he throws out that kind of performance, you know Jonas Vingegaard could be wearing yellow in tomorrow's stage 5. Tadej Pogačar could. Mathieu van der Poel, can you hold on to it? Can Remco Evenepoel make up 58 seconds in the individual time trial? We saw him make up 45 plus seconds at Dauphiné, but Tadej Pogačar is on exceptional form right now. So can he do that against the 3 riders in front of him? Can Roglič back there, who's a minute and a half back, can he make up some time on tomorrow's stage 5? Well, like and subscribe, because you know I'm going to call it on the Butterfly Effect. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.